What's up, guys? What's happening? Doing all right? Everybody out there doing okay? Anyone who's driving home on a Monday, you doing all right as well? I hope you are. I really do. It's Nick Leafy, the Garlic Bread Warlord, clearing the throat after a majestic soccer weekend. Joined as always by the legends themselves, Mr. John Nelson, Mr. Jason
Check.
Longshore, Jarrett JARRET_Smith, softball warrior,
Yo.
the Tony Gwynn of softball apparently. Guys, I'm a hip hop fan. I love hip hop music, and there's something that's been irking me this past weekend, and coming up from yesterday, epic showing in the Women's World Cup. U.S. 4 stars. How many, guys? How many is that again? 4?
Quattro.
Quattro. Okay, great. Thanks.
4 more than the U.S. men have.
Yeah. It's crazy how that works, right? It's amazing. But I sat there and I kept trying to kick this thing over, and we see so many things where the fans are chanting equal pay, and then somebody on social media had the nerve to call me a social justice warrior because I said these women should be paid more than the men. And they try telling me this stuff about metrics and how the women don't draw, and then they tried looping in NWSL, not realizing that's 2 different arguments, my friend. I used to work in women's soccer. I worked in women's professional soccer and had to go toe-to-toe with a general manager to try to get $20 so I could update our playlist because it was getting so stagnant. I didn't get that $20. As a result, the playlist stayed stagnant because I didn't have that kind of money just to throw at music that, whatever. But what I watched in this World Cup, the level of play, not just from the U.S. women, but across the board, has jumped up, and it has jumped up with investment. And when I go back to my hip hop argument, to quote Outkast, you're only as funky as your last cut. And if you took that last cut that the women had, baby, it's prime. It's 100% grade A, top tier. It's going to be served at every 5-star Michelin-rated restaurant around the world is prime, baby, because you're walking out with 4 stars. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you count them, it's so simple. My 2-year-old daughter can count to 4, and even she knows that 4 is more than 0. And to go back to the hip-hop thing, Diddy, in the song Victory, he said, I'm going to tell it how it is, and you tell it how it might be. And that right there, that's how this whole argument's shaping up. From the church of telling it like it might be with these men. Oh, if we had only not fired Bob Bradley, if we had been a little stronger mentally and held on to him. Nope. If. If we had just ditched the charlatan Jurgen Klinsmann earlier. If. If we had just had better weather in Trinidad. If. I'm tired of hearing ifs. I want to start hearing from the church of telling it like it is. And that's 3 + 1. It's very simple arithmetic. Either you're winning in this game or you're losing in this game. Don't talk to me about draws because you don't walk out of a championship game with a draw. You walk out with a win. And I'm tired of these people walking around talking to me with these bumper stickers on the back of their car that say, my child is a successful student at blah, blah, blah university. Because that's what I'm feeling like this is right now. The U.S. men's team, oh my God. Like somehow it just, I'm sorry that they're not winning. I'm not in charge of that. I don't do the scouting. I don't do this. I don't do that. But the U.S. women, guys, are they pulling from 50 different countries to try to supply this team? Or are they trying to draw within the same geographical map as everyone else? I'm trying to figure this out here. And we could talk about how the women's game is better and improved. I don't care. Are you winning? That's it. And the women are winning. And somehow a yogurt company or Kind has to come in. Luna Bar has to come in and pony up the $31,000 per player difference in the bonuses. And then, but Nick, Where's this money going to come from? How do you propose they break it out? Oh my God, that's a fantastic question. Gentlemen, how long ago was it that U.S. Soccer got in front of cameras and started talking about this great surplus that they had as it was some sort of like benchmark for how efficiently they run their business? And you're telling me there's no money to sit there and say, hey, guys, what would we have paid the men if they had won the World Cup? What's that number? Okay, yeah. Let's just move that to the women. Can we do that? Yeah, we can do that because we're in charge, right? We're in charge. We could just move that, right? No.
Nick.
What?
It's not quite that simple.
Why not?
Because the money that they would pay the players with does come from the FIFA bonus that they would get from FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
That part's out of the U.S. control, that inequity.
Okay, so when it comes to the rest of the inequity, how do we cover that?
Oh, 100%, it's idiotic. I've been really clear on this since this whole thing came up. Per diem being different, I mean, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, the win bonus for a friendly being different, are you serious? There are some things, and there are some things that make this complicated, but I'm also seeing a whole bunch of things out there right now across social media that are 100% false. Fake numbers. Like made-up nonsense. That
Give me
is
the
not
numbers.
the case. Oh, things saying that the 2019 Women's World Cup only grossed like $100 million in revenue. Like, it just ended yesterday. Those numbers aren't done yet, geniuses.
Nope.
And you know this.
Nincompoop.
There's lying going on about this stuff. You want to have the conversation, be real. It's complicated because the women are on salaries. U.S. Soccer's putting that money into NWSL. There's some give and take back and forth. That's one thing that's very different. The bonus money coming from FIFA is different. There's a lot of things that there is no reason why it should be different. And U.S. Soccer has to get that right.
It blows my mind. It blows my mind. The per diem issue, right? The per diem issue. We'll stick with that for a moment. Again, guys, how many stars are above the men's crest? The ones that are not a part of the logo, Are there no stars? Zero. Oh, 0 stars. Zero. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. I'm sick. I'm so sick when we have players out there who are wearing the 40 pounds of gold, as they call it in professional wrestling. They're sporting around the 40 pounds of gold. They're limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing sons of guns, and they're winning. And that's what we crave in this country's championships, right? Al Davis, just win, baby. Just win. Don't get paid the same. Sorry, girls. Got to deal with it. Suck it up. No. And whoever is the new general manager for the ladies that's coming in, that's benchmark number 1 for you. That's benchmark number 1. Get my players handled. That they stay in the exact same accommodations. They get the same per diem as the men. That's easily sorted. And if you try to hand me some mess, well, we can't because subsection C, Article 12 of the particular player code. No. Negative. And I'm tired of hearing about this mess.
Here's a number that just to make your mind explode a little bit more.
Go ahead, please.
If both teams, men's and women's, played 20 friendlies in a year, now they're not. There's differences with the scheduling and all that. But if you're the same number of friendlies, and each team wins all 20, you get 20 wins in a year. Okay, per game, and that's what matters here. That's the number that matters. Female women's national team players would earn a maximum of $4,950 per game. Men, $13,166 on average.
3 times.
That's a friendly. There's no that's it's easy to yell on either side of it and yell and scream and say things. Justify that. Explain that one to me. It's a friendly that U.S. Soccer books. It's not in a competition. It's not being set up by anybody else. You're booking it. You're setting it up. And there's that big of a difference in how much one side would make versus the other. The attendance in said friendly, by the way, the women are drawing more right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had a slight connection issue there, Jason. Could you repeat that, please?
The women are drawing more people to come watch them play right now in friendlies.
Oh, that was crystal clear. Thank you.
Yeah. So they're going to bring more people into the building, which means more tickets are going to get sold, which means more revenue, but they're going to be paid less. That's the part that's stupid. It's just flat out stupid. The bonus money from FIFA, different conversation. This, you can't sit there and justify it. You cannot.
Inexcusable.
If you and know the difference in the women being paid a salary and this doesn't balance out. That's the other part of it that doesn't balance out. If you want to show me the numbers where that balances out, great. I'd love to see it, considering it's never been done and never been shown.
Yeah.
That's the issue here. So you're talking about, just if you want to scale it out to those 20 games, the women would make $99,000. The men would make $263,320. The difference of $164,320. The women are not being paid that in their salary from U.S. Soccer that's going to NWSL to support the women's league. So no, it's not justifiable.
And here's another thing, guys. Zardis and Lavelle. The main difference is Rose Lavelle puts the ball in the net. Doesn't shake it 57 feet wide.
That's just flat out mean, Nick.
Tell it like it is or tell it how it might be.
Man.
And Zardis puts it in the net. He just doesn't put it in the net consistently for the national team. When he's with the club team and he's not being forced to play right back by a psychotic coach, I mean...
Zardis is a backup, too. Let's not forget that.
Hey. Put the ball in the net. That's all you got to do. Put the ball in the net.
Zardis is a backup who did not grab a starting job from one of the best players in the world. Rose Lavelle is a backup who grabbed a starting job from one of the best players in the world, who is admittedly injured.
Be real. I don't know, guys. Going from organizational stupidity to individual stupidity. Are you guys keeping up with Neymar, the antics of Neymar as the Neymar tournament?
I try
not to. So I don't think it's any sort of secret that PSG has reached their wits' end when it comes to the Neymar show. We know that Neymar did not factor in to Brazil's win over Peru. Wait, did he factor into any of the tournament at all, guys? No?
He was in a box, I think, in the stands.
Oh, okay, good. So he was giving vocal support. Excellent. That's what I like hearing, that kind of good vocal support. So Brazil has proven that they can win without the Neymar show, and now PSG looks more and more like they are ready to jettison said Neymar. And the tension is overflowing to the point now where Neymar has not shown up for the first day of preseason training. This is from Jonathan Johnson, who is very, very reliable for ESPN.
Well, he was at the Copa America final yesterday, I believe.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Mbappe, Marco Verratti, big names. Mbappe, he won a World Cup, right? That guy? Pretty good. Yeah, he was there. But
he wasn't at a Copa America final yesterday.
Yeah, but was he playing?
Well, no, of course not.
No,
he was
okay.
injured.
Well, then get your butt on a plane and show up. Even if you're hurt. If you're hurt, then you're supposed to show up to your team trainers so that way they can get their official organizational eyeballs on your injury and say, okay, team, this is how long we're expecting this guy to be out. This is the training regimen we want you on. Everything in lockstep with the program. No, he wasn't there for that.
We have an update.
Please, update.
Neymar's father has spoken.
Please, yes.
PSG knew that Neymar would not be in training this week and would be back on July 15th. There's an event organized in Brazil in Sao Paulo on July 12th and 13th for Neymar's foundation. That's
very interesting because according to Jonathan Johnson, he's reporting this from a club statement. Yes. On Monday, 8 July, Neymar was due to return to preseason activities with the PSG senior squad. PSG notes that Neymar was not in attendance at the agreed time and place. PSG went on to clarify that Neymar did not have permission to be absent and stated that the Brazil international will be punished. this was without the club. This is quote without the club's prior authorization. The club regrets this situation and will therefore take appropriate action. End quote.
Dun, dun, dun.
Guys, this is absolutely bonkers. This is the move that Neymar wanted. He wanted to be the guy. He wanted to be the man who led a big club to the promised land.
How'd that work out for you?
Not really. No.
He realized he'd rather be Scottie Pippen.
Really?
Yes. And that's, Scottie was a damn good player.
Yeah,
he wasn't
okay.
Jordan.
Nope.
He wasn't Jordan. He had really good shoes. The Pippins were exceptional shoes.
Who
They
made
seem to be
those?
enjoying.
I don't even remember.
Nike. They were the ones that
I
had.
don't even remember them either.
Yeah, they had the full airbag underneath the shoe, and they had in large letters "Air" on the side that went from the A started in the toward the toe section, the I went the full length of the middle, and then the R filled out all the way to the heel cup. An incredibly beautiful shoe, and I owned them simply because I could not get the Jordan 11s, the Concords. So
they don't do the reissues of the Air Pippins, though, do they?
They do. They're starting to make a comeback.
Oh,
I would probably get a set, but currently I'm stockpiling the GDP of China to get a set of Jordan 11 Concords.
Yes.
I was going to say, those Pippins would be a good number 2 shoe for you, wouldn't they?
They would be a good number 2 shoe for me, but I'm saving up for the Jordans. So, unfortunately for Mr. Neymar, he made a choice. He said, I don't want to play second fiddle to Messi. I will never be loved here in Barcelona like Messi is. I need to get out. I need to make my own name. He chose to go to PSG, who ponied the cash up for him. And not just that, but this guy has off-field issues still lingering.
Yes.
The brand Neymar, how he's still on Nike commercials and how he's still on all these other commercials blows my mind. But yet somehow he's still there.
He's the Li Ning of soccer.
It's absurd.
The Starbury of soccer.
The Starbury. Oh, my God. Who's going to take him? Who can afford this man now? We've had this conversation before, but really, I mean...
If PSG wants, their money back, I mean, there's
UAE.
one or two... I don't even think they're going to pony up that kind of money.
China?
I don't think he's going to go. That's the thing is, sure, but are you going to go there? No. Legitimate possibilities. There's not many. He's not going to go to England. Nobody in Germany is going to sign him. Barcelona, but it doesn't seem like they're really all that interested.
No.
Hey.
And if you're talking about package deals, you're going to have a make weight. It would involve some cash, so $100 million, and then a player or two,
and his dad.
Yeah,
That only helps with financial fair play.
No, no, but I would have to throw in if I'm Barcelona or if I'm PSG, I'm look, you have to throw in a particular academy player here or there to make up for the fact that we're getting Neymar and his dad. The fact that Neymar and his dad are coming back here, PSG, you need to kick us a couple of these young studs down in your academy. Send them up to us.
I think they're going to have to pay to loan him back to Brazil or something. I don't think there's any options for them to transfer him out.
It's just mind-bending the amount of damage that this man has done to his own career in such a short amount of time. The injuries around the same time of year, and then you see him at Carnival partying, even though he's got a busted ankle. Okay, then if you come back and PSG somehow gets to the finals of Champions League, okay, fine, great, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with you being a headache. But if you can't provide the result on the pitch, I'm sorry. There's no room for you. We can't keep spending money on you. You got to go. So in my opinion, I think there may be some merit to that. They may have to look to get him back to Brazil and eat a substantial sum of money to make that happen. Because unless you're Barcelona and you're going to cough up, Coutinho, who's Neymar's buddy, who he's wanted to get back and play with for God knows how long, if you're at the pony up maybe Coutinho, maybe someone else to try to make that move happen as a make weight, that's not good business to me. Yeah, but in other news, guys, your thoughts on Copa America overall, your thoughts on the tournament, your thoughts on Brazil walking out as
Listen
the winner.
to this with the tease.
You like
Teasing
that, huh?
future content.
Yeah, you like that, huh? Because we have content coming your way. We're going to go deep on Copa America. Anything you want to know, you need to hit us up at Soc over there, SOC over there on Twitter, or you can hit up at Soccer Down Here, or you can hit me up at Nicolifi. There are multiple ways that you can be a part of today's show. And I don't know if you saw earlier today, guys, the leaked to Juve deal is almost final.
Afternoon delete.
Almost final. 2 weeks ago, we were almost final, and now we're almost final. So
Okay.
yeah. It's a shell
triple
game of moving
almost.
debt around to try to see how much money Juve can actually get in before they have to start doing major cuts to the club. So because they as we said would happen, they're going to reacquire Higuain's salary from Chelsea, and now they're saying that there was a move in place for Higuain to go to Roma. Higuain did not want to go to Roma. He wanted to stay at the premier club in Italy. Juve's like, yeah, we don't want you, Chief, so you're going to have to go somewhere else or sit on the bench. So now he's slowly opening up a move to Roma if they can convince him to do that. I personally would not take the Carmelo Anthony of international soccer on my roster, but that's fine.
Oh.
No, there's no production there. And I'm waiting for whichever subgroup of loyalists he has out there to bomb me on Twitter for that. Come at
Does
me.
he have any
but
left? I don't think he has any loyalists left.
I don't think so. I certainly hope not. But it's just one of those moves where it's going to have to happen, and there's going to have to be a restructuring of the contract where he's going to have to agree to a lower salary if he wants to play. Other than that, Juve stashes him on the bench and then has to move a couple of people that they don't want to move, and that's not happening.
So let me ask a quick question before we go into Copa America land. With financial fair play, you got a bad contract like this. You're stuck.
Yep.
You're just you got a player you don't want. He's not happy. He's going to be sitting on the bench. Can you buy him out? I mean, is there anything you can do to mitigate a bad contract, or are you just completely and utterly stuck?
It's going to be what counts against your books. So, I mean, as long as he's on your books, it's going to count against it from what I understand. Now, there's 5 trillion different regulations to this, so I'm probably going to be wrong. But when it comes to a situation like this, I don't know how much of the debt would be forgiven if he restructures his contract. If the player and the team agree to a restructured contract, I don't know how that factors into financial fair play. If they say, well, your previous contract was X, does that factor in? If you agree to a new contract, does that negate the previous contract and the hit that would be taken by the club? I don't know. I will effort that, and that's a great question because that's something
figure something out. They've got to figure something out. I mean, MLS with the salary cap, you can buy out a contract and it doesn't count against your books, and you're basically given relief. There's got to be something because look, he can't be the only player who's ever been in this situation. It's no good for him. It's no good for Juventus. It's no good for anybody. Give away when you're dealing with this financial fair play stuff and clubs are up against it. Give away to get out of a bad contract occasionally.
There has to be. There will be billable hours. There will be some lawyer poring over this who has to find some way to a leveraged buyout, or where there's going to be something where he'll have to give up some money that may be compensated through some bonus somewhere else, or somehow or another it's going to get done. But there's no way that virtually any other team in Italy can afford Higuain's salary as is. Roma is just coming out of financial fair play trouble. Inter is just coming out of financial fair play trouble. AC Milan is, they're in financial fair play Afghanistan at the moment. It's absolutely, they're fighting tooth and nail as we speak to try to make sure that nothing else happens. And they're still talking about buying players. I don't know what they're doing. But the Higuain contract is interesting. And I think it really is, we talked about Neymar earlier. Neymar to me was a demarcation line, right? It's a point where we said, okay, the world changed at this point. And from the Neymar line, as I'm going to call it, players and teams realized, I think we maxed out our value on transfers. There's only like 3 people in the world who can get to this level. Beyond that, we're going to have to start reevaluating a lot of things and how we structure contracts and how we move players and the transfer fees that go with that, especially in this world of financial fair play. So the Higuain deal is going to be another one of those markings for me where we say, how do we handle a player who's beyond this prime, who can't deliver, and still has this massive salary? So it's going to be interesting to see, and I do need to find out how we can deal with that contract moving forward. Let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break before we get in to our deep dive on Copa America with our special guest. Well done, by the way, on the get, Mr. Longshore. I don't know if that you or John who made this happen, but we have a guest. Jason's connected. All right, we will be right back. Soccer Over There, thank you for listening to us. We appreciate it as always. We'll be right back. Soccer Over There.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Over There, July 8th edition. And if you heard soccer down here this morning, we talked about the Women's World Cup. We talked about MLS. We talked about the Gold Cup. We left Copa America for the dinner hour, and now we're getting into it with an expert when it comes to Copa America because there was so much soccer going on this summer that it was hard for me to keep up with Copa America like I wanted to. Howard Hamilton of SoccerMetrics is the expert when it comes to South American football, and he's joining us now. How are you doing, Howard?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a real pleasure to be on and to finally get to come on with all of you. And I just want to say that you and I go a very long way, go back a very long way, Jason. So it's a real pleasure to be on here.
No, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it. Let's start from the beginning of the tournament. I have a question, and I just want your opinion on it. The Copa America format has been played with over the years a bunch, and you had the Centenario format that worked great. I think got a lot of people excited, and there was thought that coming into this one you might see Mexico and the United States or something like that, and instead it was Japan and Qatar. What do you think the best format is going forward for the Copa America?
I think it really depends on what you want Copa America to be. And I'm not 100% sure that CONMEBOL knows that yet. If you want to be solely a South American competition, I think the way to do it is, instead of inviting two guest teams from different parts of the world that have no relation to South America at all, why not just have two groups of 5? You play, every team plays 4 matches, and then the top 2 teams meet in a semifinal round, and then you have the final. So every team would be guaranteed a minimum of 4 matches, and then no team has to play more than 6, which is what they play right now. If you want to be a true Copa America, like a true cup of the CONCACAF region, CONMEBOL region, I would propose having a true qualification stage like they do in Europe and Asia and Africa, and the remaining 16 teams meet, somewhere in the Americas and have the tournament. I think that there would be a lot of interest in that, from qualification all the way through to the final tournament, and it would also allow all of the members of the Confederation to play serious matches a lot more consistently.
I think for that completely.
I am totally with you on that, because I feel that the Americas could be a true counterweight to UEFA, not just at a national team level, but at a club level. With Copa Libertadores and with Copa America. And Copa America has the history. Copa Libertadores has the history. I think that there would be a lot of resistance to that, not just here in this region, but I think in CONMEBOL as well. I was reading some of the history of the Copa America Centenario, and there was some pushback from the Uruguayan Federation asking, why are we having Copa America in a country that, quote unquote, doesn't feel soccer or calls football soccer? It makes no sense for us to have this tournament there. So I feel there would be some cultural resistance to that. But you can either continue shoehorning Copa America as a 12-team tournament, and invite, guest countries from around the world, or you could have a proper South American tournament, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd be there for that. Or you could have a proper Copa America, like of the North and South American confederations, and I would totally be there for that.
Howard, it's John. First off, thanks for coming on, and thanks for being here and giving us giving the fans the education on this. Let me ask this from a casual fan perspective, someone who would be just buzzing through on a remote and sit there and see the shining object of a Lionel Messi or an Argentina or a Brazil playing in a tournament like this. How would you best explain how completely off the rails this can be emotionally when it comes to these countries going after the the trophy in this tournament, because I'm sure that someone who's a casual fan who may not necessarily have seen this until this year because of this being the summer of soccer, this might be their first exposure for it. And we can get into the third place game in a little bit and all of the stuff from there. But how could you best explain the emotion and just how completely and totally hyper emotionally or over emotional this tournament can be sometimes, because it means that much to these nations?
I think with Copa America and with South American football, all the countries are familiar with each other to a certain degree. And, some more than others. You have the rivalry between Argentina and Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay. You have the rivalries among the Andean countries, Ecuador versus Colombia, Peru versus Chile, Bolivia versus Chile, and that goes back. A lot of these rivalries go back hundreds of years, and there's a political element, there's a social element involved. As far as the actual soccer, I think there's a misconception outside the continent that a lot of the football is this really pretty, ultra artistic type of football. You have a lot of, with a fair amount of the dark arts thrown in, and a lot of those things are true. But I think there's a diversity in the approaches to football that these countries have. Like, you have, obviously the big name countries such as Brazil and Argentina, and the individual stars that they've had throughout the years. And then you may have a team such as Paraguay that will grind, that is a truly physical team, that is a really tough team to get past. And then you have the teams on the Andean part of the continent that also have their own challenges, such as Colombia, which they can be very artistic. They can also be very, very physical. And then you have Uruguay, a country of 2 million that lives to stick it to either Argentina or Brazil, and they have occasionally. I think a lot of people outside of the Confederation, outside of this region, are very surprised when they learn that Uruguay has won more Copa Americas than any other country in that Confederation. They've won 15. Argentina have won 15, and Brazil, with this recent triumph, have only won 9. So I think there are diversity of styles, and there are rivalries that go back a very long way, for as long as people have been playing international soccer.
Hey, it's Nick. When we hear the things that Messi was saying, where you have claims of the Bolsonaro government listening in on VAR broadcasts and things like that, does the shenanigans of this help Copa America gain that interest, or is it just another black eye for South American ball, especially after the issues with Copa Libertadores?
Yeah, I think Copa Libertadores is a separate issue, and I think that's primarily issues with Argentine soccer bursting onto the continental stage. With Copa America, I feel that a lot of I have a lot of feelings, first of all, about Messi's statements, but I feel that a lot of those issues come down to the way that refereeing was managed and the way that VAR was managed. I felt that the refereeing in this tournament was very inconsistent. I think it was very arbitrary. I was watching part of the final in Spanish, and on that last penalty that Brazil converted to make it 3-1, the commentators were saying, they're calling a penalty, but I don't know what they're calling a penalty about, roughly speaking.
Awful call.
Right. I looked at it 2 times, and I was trying to figure out, well, it's a shoulder charge, and surely, it's going to VAR, and surely they're going to overturn that, but they didn't. And the other issue and that gets into the other issue with VAR, the way that VAR was implemented and managed in Copa America was a total scandal, because when a decision went to VAR, the stadium honestly didn't have access to the camera angles that the people in the VAR studio were looking at, and neither did the broadcasters. There was a caption that would display on the screen saying there's a VAR check for a particular event, but after that VAR check was over, either the frame or a clip of that play was not made known to either the broadcasters or to the stadium operator. So everyone was in the dark about why the decision took place. And I think that resulted in a lot of frustration among the players, among the coaching staffs, the spectators, and those who are watching on television.
Yeah, it was really poorly handled, and it came across badly for the tournament. And I mean, we can talk more about Messi, but I do want to talk about the action on the field and kind of how things turned out. Brazil wins, which wasn't exactly a shock going in, hosting the tournament. Peru getting to the final was a bit of a surprise. I think a lot of people figured it'd be one of Argentina or Uruguay or Colombia who would be against Brazil in a final going into the tournament. What stood out to you about the action on the field this summer?
I think you're right in that. Well, I know you're right in that Brazil was the perfect team in this tournament. They scored 13 goals. They only allowed 1 goal. They allowed that goal in the final. They swept every award that was offered in that tournament. They won the best goalkeeper award. They won most valuable player. They had a player who won. Everton won the best goal scorer. They even won the best fair play award. I thought it would be a Brazil-Uruguay final, and I felt that Uruguay would be one of those teams that would cause Brazil some difficulty. And the fact that the final would be in the Maracanã, I think that would give Uruguay even greater motivation. But I believe that Brazil were helped by the fact that Peru took out both of Brazil's likely difficult rivals for them. I feel Peru were a little bit lucky they were very lucky against Uruguay with 3 goals disallowed. I think 1 was legitimately not a goal, and the second 2 came down to VAR decisions that everyone scratched their head about. And Peru played their best match in the semifinal against Chile. And Peru were definitely a team that were greater than the sum of its parts. And I think what Gareca did very well was that he went through the group stage, and by the end of the group stage, he had identified the 11 players that he wanted to go with, and he stuck with that lineup over the entire knockout phase. They were the only team in the knockout phase that stayed with the same starting lineup. And I think that brought them a lot of stability. They had some really great contributions from their central midfielders, and Paulo Guerrero had a really great tournament as well. But they were always going to be the underdogs against Brazil. Even in the final that has a lot of, I guess, historical challenges for them. being an Americana, but Brazil has always won a home Copa America, and and they also benefited by being the better team overall. Over the 90 minutes last night and over the entire month of the tournament.
So then, would Uruguay be your disappointment, your largest disappointment, one of a few disappointments since we've talked about the positive? What things did you carry out of there that you thought would happen but didn't?
I think Colombia were a bigger disappointment than Uruguay. I feel that Colombia hit their heights in the group stage. The match they played against Argentina was brilliant. I think James had a really great match. Cuadrado had a really great match, and they never approached that against Chile. They created very little against Chilean side that pretty much nullified them, and then Chile won the penalty shootout. James and Cuadrado, I feel that they created a lot of chances for Colombia. If you look at the advanced analytics as far as expected goals, expected assists, James and Cuadrado ranked in the top 20, but only one Colombian player was in the top 20 as far as expected goals were concerned. So they really weren't taking advantage of balls played in dangerous areas to create scoring opportunities. I think Uruguay, you could say that they were a bit of a disappointment, but again, in that knockout round match against Peru, they had 3 goals disallowed, and 2 of them probably should not have been disallowed. So, so were they a disappointment? I don't really think so, but but aside from Suarez and Cavani, I think Cavani had a better tournament than Suarez. Suarez created a lot of chances, but he only scored 1 goal. I think Ecuador was disappointing. I don't believe they created very much. Bolivia was even worse than I thought they would be. They're just not competitive at this point in time in CONMEBOL. And as far as the guest countries were concerned, I think they got what they were expecting from the tournament. I believe that Japan and Qatar were using that tournament to prepare for the World Cup. Well, Qatar obviously isn't, since they're hosting it. But I think they approached it as a tournament to try out a more experimental squad and see how they compete against competition who they might meet at a future World Cup. So I think they got what they were looking for from that tournament, and they didn't last very long, which always makes the tournament organizers happy.
Hey, Howard, it's Nick. With Argentina, and naturally, anytime you mention Argentina in an international tournament, Messi's name is going to come up. I felt that in this tournament that Messi really stuck out like a sore thumb here. Not because I think Messi is by any stretch of the imagination washed up, but it just seems to me that there's this continued incompatibility between Messi and the Argentine national team. Did you see that as well? And if so, what are your thoughts about Argentina moving forward when it comes to preparations for the World Cup and their need to keep Messi around? Which is an ignorant question, I know, even framing it like, oh we're going to drop Messi. But at some point, they're going to have to ask the question.
Right, and that time is approaching very quickly. Messi for Argentina evokes a lot of conversation, a lot of strong opinions. I think a lot of wrong-headed opinions. I've heard conversation that Messi truly isn't one of the greats, one of the historical greats, because he's never won an international competition. Is he just not bringing it at the right time? And football is a team game. Messi has carried Argentina in previous Copa Americas, 2007, 2016. 2015. 2015 he only scored 1 goal, but he also had 3 assists. I think the issue with Messi is that the remaining players who he has to drag over the line, for whatever reason, are not playing at the standard that is expected for, not only for the national team, but also for a national team that wants to be competitive to win international tournaments. And there are some things that can't be helped, such as losing a penalty shootout, especially on 2 consecutive occasions. But in those tournaments, Messi hasn't played poorly. He's put the ball in the good places. It's just that the players around him aren't converting on those opportunities. And I feel in this tournament I wouldn't say he had a great tournament, but I feel that he was still putting the ball in places where if he had better players, they might be able to convert on them. And he just doesn't have those players anymore. I think where you might be able to criticize Messi is on free kick situations. He took a lot of free kicks in this tournament, and he didn't convert on any of them. A lot of them went straight to goal. Some were well saved. There was the save that Allison made in the semifinal. But I feel it's very frustrating to me because Messi is without doubt one of the greatest players of this generation and perhaps of any generation. But I feel that increasingly he has to drag 17 other guys over the line who aren't at the same level as him and haven't been at the same level as him for the last few years. So at some point, some criticism has to be applied to the other players who have played well for their club teams, or either this season or in previous seasons, but just aren't getting it done for Argentina.
It's just a fascinating situation with Messi and Argentina, because you feel like he takes a lot of the blame. He never really gets the credit that he deserves, and it's only now, after some of the controversial things he says afterwards, that maybe he's getting the love in Argentina that he hadn't gotten before. I mean, I saw some media outlets saying that this was the most Maradona-like thing that he has done in his career, was questioned honorable afterwards.
Right, and I feel that's really, really stupid.
Yeah.
Because if Messi wanted to, he could have gone and played for Spain and gotten a lot less grief and had better players around him.
Can you imagine Messi in that Spain team?
Oh my goodness! They probably could have won. He probably could have won 2 or 3 World Cups by now.
Easily.
Right, 2 or 3 World Cups, 2 or 3 Euros. We would have been talking about that Spain team as rivaling the Brazilian teams of the '60s as one of the greatest national teams ever. But he chose to play for Argentina, a country that he never played in their domestic league. So unless you are a Newell's supporter, you can't say, well, I saw Messi win. I saw him take on Boca or River in Primera. So there's not that emotional attachment to Messi that people have to Maradona. And then there's also the me against the world, taking on those invisible structures that are keeping Argentina down. So for him to take that turn, in my opinion, is really disappointing. I understand the frustration. I think we're going to talk about the third place match. But I get his frustration of being the point guy in an Argentina side that hasn't won an international tournament since 1993. But for him to say the things that he said about CONMEBOL and the conspiracies, I guess I'm just a little disappointed by that.
Yeah, it seemed like frustration was just kind of coming out. Let's finish with this, Howard. We've got a couple things we got to do at the end of the show. Let's finish with the third place game real quick. The controversy in it with Messi and Medel and the double red. I mean, what Messi said afterwards, that CONMEBOL wanted him out of this, I didn't feel like it was a red. It felt like it came out of nowhere, and it's the second red card he's received in his career, if I'm not mistaken.
The second, yeah, he got his first red card in his very first appearance.
Yeah, that's
Argentina. Right. So you're right. I don't think it was a red. If you were going to give a red to someone, it would have been Medel, because I thought Medel had butted Messi. But I feel that Messi should have walked away.
Yes, I agree.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think that play really shows the effect of not having Javier Mascherano anymore. Because I think if Masche was on the field, he would have never allowed Messi to get into that situation. Because Mascherano is not going to back down to anyone, and he's going to get in Medel's face and say, you're not going to do that to one of our players, especially a player like Messi. And there's no one around like that anymore. And I think if Tata Martino were still a manager, that would not have happened. So I think the fact that, one, Messi was in that situation, didn't walk away, and didn't have anyone who could step up and pull him aside away from that situation. I think that ended up giving the referee a reason to show red cards to both players, even though I believe that the referee totally overreacted there.
Yeah, it felt like a bad overreaction, but I'm with you. Messi's got to walk away there. So I know you've got a Copa America review coming up over at SoccerMetrics. Let everybody know how they can follow you and why they should follow you.
You can follow me at SoccerMetrics if you like soccer analytics, if you like reading someone who, I guess, thinks very deeply about soccer analytics, and if you want to read content on South American soccer, from the Argentine Superliga to Copa America and other competitions in that region. So my website is soccermetrics.net, and my Twitter is SoccerMetrics.
Make sure you follow it, and you also do the data. I'm not sure what the graphics of the different pass maps and such for Libertadores, for Sudamericana. Gwen's a big fan. My dog is, if you can hear her. She's very excited about that. Make sure you're following all the SoccerMetrics content for all the best out of South America. Howard, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We're going to go to a break real quick. Make sure you're following SoccerMetrics on Twitter, and we'll be right back after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Apelinsky and Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Guys, that was a fantastic segment. I love when we can get someone on the show who knows what they're talking about, because then John and Jason have someone who they can bounce legitimate, real conversation topics off of. And I will just throw out the random cream pie in the face to someone. That's how soccer over there works. So, Howard, thanks for coming. Hey, Team Chaos, Team Defensa East.
We're digging it.
Forever. We're all in. Thank you for being all in with us as well out there in the audience. And we have to talk about this.
How would you classify this, Nick? Is this an air horn or thunder and lightning or what?
I would. Do we have a sound effect for Chernobyl Reactor 4? Is that?
I don't think so.
No.
We've got like it looks
dogs barking.
It looks kind of like a guy in an overcoat with a hat, like an evil guy or something.
Whoa.
That's right. That's what it is. Yeah. So, no doubt, if you're on Twitter right now, making its rounds is it's a bit from TYC saying that Pity Martinez is not in Frank de Boer's plans, and that Atlanta United is planning to loan him out and or move him. Okay, I want to preface this by saying a couple of things, and the guys jump in and have at it. Sometimes there's nothing behind stories like this. Sometimes there is something behind it, just like the Cristiano Ronaldo story, right? Where he wasn't going to Juve. Oh my God, he's at Juve. It happens. Those are typically outliers, but sometimes with stories like this, it's media floating stuff out there. Sometimes it's agents floating stuff out there, and it bubbles its way to the surface. Gentlemen, your initial comments, takes, hot takes, I don't care the temperature. What are your initial takes when it comes to this story?
Well, I'm looking at Teise right now out of Argentina. Their news program or one of their opinion programs, No Todo Pasa, is talking about El Pity Martinez vuelve a River. Is he going to return to River? Look, if he's not going to be in Atlanta, it's a very limited amount of places he would be, and River would be one of them, because when you get into the logistics of this, if Atlanta United was to loan Pity Martinez, and that's what's been said in Argentine media. Look, the way this stuff has come up before in the Argentine media, the people who are reporting this are legit sources. Doesn't mean they're 100% right, but they are legit sources. This is not the second tier level of people talking about it. It is your top tier. But every time this type of stuff has happened, it hasn't been a leak from the Atlanta side of things. It's been from South American sources. Now, there's two different sides that this could be coming from. It could be coming from a club like River, who would like to make something like this happen. And Marcelo Gallardo, their manager, has been clear in talking about, he needs reinforcements. He wants to strengthen the team. Well, that would be a pretty big reinforcement. And it's reported that Gallardo and Pitti have spoken. I don't know anything about that. I don't know what's going on with that. So the news coming out from the Argentina side makes you think that whatever leaks are happening or whatever conversation is happening is coming from that side. Well, he's not under contract there. So is it an agent? Is it a representative? Is it a club who's trying to make something happen? It's very possible. There could be legitimate things going on here. Who knows? But from the Atlanta United side, like, if you want to make this happen, you're wanting to clear a designated player slot. So just any old loan is not necessarily going to do that. I believe it would have to be a loan where the other side takes the full salary on. And, I mean, it's not an absurd salary. I believe it was $900,000, if I remember correctly, from the Players Association, which surprised some people, that it wasn't as high as people thought it might be. Even in that number, there's not a lot of clubs who can pay that in Argentina. It would pretty much be River. I guess maybe Boca, but there's no way he's going to Boca. So if he goes anywhere, River's about the only place it could work. Is it possible? Yeah, I mean, I guess anything's possible. Is it going to happen? Who knows? Because I don't see why Atlanta would do it unless River is going to take that full salary on. Because you're not just going to have an empty spot on the roster for no reason and a designated player slot being used for no reason. That was my initial reaction to it when I saw it. It is legitimate sources, though, talking. So that does make you stand up and take notice.
It is a $900,000 guaranteed compensation. Base salary is equal to the final guarantee. And yeah, when you look at the sourcing, you're sitting there and saying, okay, that's what gets your antennae up just a little bit. We've had the discussion. We had the discussion this morning. Frank DeBoer discussed the situational substitutions for having PTN until a certain point. And for me, until further notice, this is similar to what happened last year. Just from a fan conversational standpoint about Ezequiel Barco. And I still believe that an artist like a P.T. Martinez will do well here once everything is sorted out. And you can put those in air quotes, however you want to classify that when it comes to the on-the-field product. I believe it's a work in progress. I believe that it will be a successful work in progress by the time we're done. But at the same time, I'm looking at this as possibly agents who are sending out that information, going to those reputable sources, and then that's how it comes back. So that's how I'm viewing it initially, even though, yes, we know that the individuals who are posting that in 280 characters or less are saying what they're saying. You always have representatives and agents looking out for your best interest and their best interest. So until otherwise, and until the hot stove gets a little hotter, I'm just looking at it as information from the outside in and not the inside out.
A couple things. The difference this year versus how it was last year with Barco is you have a manager who is not at all shy about giving his honest opinion. That's one big difference, because you didn't have that issue before. You didn't have, not to say that Tata Martino, wasn't a strong manager. It's just that I think he was a different type of manager in the way he talked about his players. And Frank DeBoer is a different personality. Neither's right or wrong. They're just different. I do stand by my thought that Pity Martinez can work in Atlanta, but it's not working to the level you hoped it would right now. Do you want to wait? Can you wait? Do you want to see? You have a month window right now to where if you want to do this, and this is why I'm still kind of taking a wait and see. If you wanted to do this, I would assume that there is a corresponding move coming in, because I don't think you do it just to have a player go away. I don't think it's at that stage at all. Some people have jumped to that conclusion. I don't think that's the case. I really don't. I think if you're going to do this, you're doing it because it's not working out and you don't want to wait, and because you want to clear a roster spot for something else. And you don't completely clear that roster spot unless they take the salary on. That complicates it. That makes it more difficult. Doesn't mean it can't happen. And River's the only place it really could, because I don't think anybody in Europe would do that right now. And one of the things that Teise has been going back and forth about, and they've been going back and forth for quite a while on the show, one of the things that has popped up is if he goes back to Argentina and gets back to the form that he was at River, and he'd be going back to a manager who's had him, you'd be going back to a system that basically was built completely for him. If he goes back there, that would put him in a good spot to be part of Argentina's squad in the lead up to 2022 and a World Cup. And that would factor in. So keep those things in mind. It's a complicated situation, and this is busting out right now and making the rounds in the talk shows in Argentina right now. We'll see if there's actually things going on.
Yeah. So, and to follow up on that, you're going to see a lot of information that's going to come out over the next couple of weeks regarding this topic, where people will start floating names and dollar amounts. Take everything with a grain of salt, as we have said consistently for every transfer that gets mentioned. Every time we talk about transfer on Soccer Over There, guys, do we not say judge accordingly?
Yes.
Take it with a grain of salt.
And we actually assumed risk.
I have a little bit of an update here, too. And I will hit the school bell. I guess that's what that sound effect was.
There you go.
Doug Robertson tweeted out, because it made the rounds a couple different ways. The Atlanta United subreddit on Twitter asked input from Doug. Doug said, he just tweeted this, "After some digging, it is not accurate."
There we go.
There you go from Doug.
And I disagree with Doug on a lot of stuff, but I do not discount the man's ability to go digging for information. So if Doug's saying that, I'll take that at face value from him.
This is really interesting, and I've been trying to get a little bit more on the River Plate side of things just to understand kind of where their head's at. And Gallardo has been talking about Pitti and strengthening the team. I don't know how much he's been talking about Pitti specifically, but he's been talking about wanting to strengthen this team for months, really since the end of the Superliga season. And as the Superliga season comes back around, it's a weird format this year in Argentina, and this does actually play into this a bit. They could be starting up in the next month. I mean, it's Argentina, so they don't have a fixture list or anything like that going yet, and they might start in 3 weeks. So, I mean, welcome to Argentina. But it's a short season. It'll be from whenever it starts in the end of July or beginning of August until the end of the calendar year. That will be the season. And then in the first half of next year, 2020, it's I believe an elongated Copa Argentina that'll be the second half of the season. So for a club like River, that increases the pressure going into the season. So you're going to get these kinds of things. I mean, Boca has been linked to all kinds of different people. You're going to get this stuff going on in Argentina right now. Now that Copa America is done, now that you're a few weeks away from the start of the season and you're going to have to hit the ground running, get ready for chaos in Argentina.
Defensa y Justicia, baby, forever. Even if they get relegated.
They are not in the running for Pitti Martinez. I think that can be confirmed.
It can happen. Not really.
They don't have that.
It's not really going to happen. They don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. They can't afford me at this point, so it's okay.
No, they tried.
Still love my team forever until next week. But we, guys, I just have to say, I just remember a time when we were ready to throw, not we like us on the show, but people were ready to throw Barco out of town, and it's changed. And now people are saying, oh, wow, that run that Barco just did was very Miggy-esque, and oh, my God, we need him to come back. Patience will typically win the day on moves like this. Just like with the stock market, you put money in, and the people who typically lose are the people who pull their cash early. Typically, if you leave your money in, you're going to come back with a little something. You'll at least break even. And I think that's probably the mindset, if I had to guess, what Atlanta United is going to be doing with this. Transfers are funny. It's not just on a team. It's also on a player and their family. Pitty's, from what I understand, Pitty's significant other and daughter are here in Atlanta now. Is that correct, Jason? Do we know that for sure?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So it's something where there's a lot of dynamics here. So be patient, hear it out. Some of you guys may form opinions, and that's fine and great. Some of you already have, and that's fine and great. But over here on this show, it's wait and see. And I'm hoping that they're patient and we get one more year of Pitty where he's comfortable and fully embracing MLS and at the height of his powers. As we saw with River Plate, where he sucked year one and then year two was like, whoa, hold up, who is this guy? So my 2 cents on it. Gentlemen, closing thoughts before we get out of here.
Just stay tuned. It's still, the window opens tomorrow for incoming moves in MLS. It's going to be the wildest month in that regard in MLS history. Mauro Manotas, reportedly a $7 million offer from Cruz Azul, was turned down by the Dynamo. Albert Ellis would be another one that you would expect to see that type of offer, or maybe into the 8 figures. Houston's going to have a lot of decisions to make. Dallas already made one in Carlos Grueso leaving the club. That opens up another spot for one of their young, talented players. San Jose is being linked to a lot of different things. The Galaxy are still reportedly trying to get Christian Pavon from Boca Juniors. It's going to be nuts on all fronts, and that could include Atlanta as well. The rumors are going to be there no matter what, and we will do our best to give you at least our thoughts on what's legit, what's possible, and what you can throw out, because that's the rumor mill you're about to get in silly season. You think it's weird in England and France and Spain and Germany. It's about to get pretty weird in the U.S. with the silly season.
Big boy soccer. Welcome to the international stage.
Amen. Welcome to the stage. You wanted the bright lights. You got it, whether you want it or not. So we will be keeping an eye on this. You can follow along with us either at Nicolifi, that's ALIFFI. You can follow us at SOC, SOC over there, or at Soccer Down Here. You can reach us all of the wonderful ways here on the SDH network. The gold standard, what I'm going to call that anyway. That's my personal take. That's not backed or verified by anyone else unless they decide to come in behind me and verify it. There we go. We love what we do, and we do it for you. So keep listening to us, chime in, be a part of the conversation, and thank you for everything that you do to help make our show what it is. At least the SDH show. Our show's a complete bumbling mess, but the SDH show is incredible, and you should always be a part of it. So until next Monday, thank you so much. We'll see you then. Mucha Euro, Yule.
All the lira.